أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Oh Allah, help us learn what is beneficial to us. Help us benefit from what you have enabled us to learn and increase us in knowledge. Today, inshallah, we're going to start our new series on how to build relationship with our kids. And before we start, let's just begin with some reminders. As Muslims and as Muslim parents, we all know that, parenting is a responsibility and it's a sacred trust. Allah entrusted us with our kids, and He gave us the responsibility of nurturing them and raising them in the best way that we can. And subhanallah, there are so many ayat in the Quran and hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. O you who believe, protect yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is people and stones. So it's a command. We are supposed to do this. Allah wants us to do this. So taking care of our kids is a trust that Allah entrusted us with, that we have to do in the best of our ability. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. So each of you is a shepherd and each of you is responsible for his flock. So our kids are our flock. We are responsible for taking care of them in the best way possible. So let's just remember that. One more thing to remember before we start is that why are we taking care of our kids? Why are we raising our kids, right? So let's purify our intentions. All of us, let's purify our intentions that, subhanAllah, we're doing this for Allah's sake, only for Him, not because for our egos, not for our desires, not for worldly concerns, but only for Him, for His sake, because He ordered us to do that, and He wants us to take care of these kids and do our best to raise righteous Muslims, inshallah. One more thing that we need to remember is that, yes, although learning effective parenting strategies is vitally important, but making dua is above all, right? So asking Allah for His guidance, for His mercy and blessing would be the most essential foundation for nurturing our kids in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. So let's never forget the power of dua, the blessing that Allah gives us when we make dua, right? Some people feel like dua is like, okay, didn't work, so I will make dua. No, we will make dua first and then we learn. We'll make dua first and then we ask, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the most beautiful dua in the Quran, ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. Oh Lord, grant us from our spouses and offspring who will be the comfort of our eyes and make us leaders for the righteous. With that, I would like to start with a little reflection before we just dive into the topic of building relationship. And my first question, and I would ask you if you have like a paper and a pen or even on your phones, just to jot some answers. Future relationship. How would you like your children to describe the relationship with you when they become adults? What kind of description you want them to say about the relationship with you, right? In other words, if you want to say it in a different way, how do you envision your future relationship with your children? What do you want in that relationship? How do you want it to look like, right? What's your dream? Like, I want when my kids grow up and they're in their 25 or 30 or 40 or 50, right? To have this kind of relationship. And like some of the answers that I usually get when I ask these questions in an interactive workshop is something along the lines, we want to be close, we want to enjoy each other company, we want to be friends, we want them to be loving, and we want to, you know, to have this loving, trusting relationship. We want to support each other. We want mutual respect. We want to be valued, right? So all of these are things that we all look forward to in our relationship with our kids, whether growing up or, you know, when they grow older. Another question that we need to stop and reflect upon is what future characteristics and life skills, or what future qualities and life skills would you like or would you want to see develop as your kids grow? What who would you want to see? Sometimes I tell people, imagine, like, you know, your kids are now 25 and 30 and, you know, 30 plus, and they're knocking on your door, coming to visit. Who do you want to see? What characteristics, what qualities, what values, what is it that you want to see? And again, I encourage you all to just write down your own, you know, reflections upon that. But a lot of the answers that I usually get would be along the lines of, I want them to be self-disciplined. I want them to be responsible. I want them to be compassionate. We want them to have like a great degree of taqwa and iman and subhanallah. So qualities and life skills are, you know, what we're supposed to be building over time, right? So the next question will come after that is, do you feel like you are currently doing what it takes to achieve these goals? Like, are you on the right track? Are you doing what it takes to at least your part, right? There are no guarantees, subhanallah. We make dua, but we have to do our part as well, right? So are we doing the right thing? Are we like going the right way? If I continue treating my kids and dealing with my kids the way I am now, will I achieve these results later on when they grow up? Let's reflect upon that. Another question would be, if I came to the realization that no, I'm probably not as much as I wanted, then what can we do now? How can we start? Where do we start? What can we do to reach that point, to cultivate these qualities that we're looking for, and to foster this future relationship that we want to see when our kids are older? And one of the most important things that we are going to come to the answer is that whatever we're doing, if we're not nurturing like a positive relationship with our kids, a secure attachment with our kids, then it's going to be very hard, if possible, if even possible, to reach those dreams or to reach those you know, hopes, right? But what is secure attachment? What is it that I need to build with my kids? What is it? Again, secure attachment is a trusting emotional bond. It's a bond that develops between the kid and the caregiver, right? It's being physically, mentally, and emotionally present in their life in a good way. I'm here, I'm around, I'm supportive, I'm with you, I'm helping, right? But what does secure attachment have to do with developing this relationship, or with, you know, cultivating these characteristics that we want to see in our kids? What does this have to do with that? Actually, it has to do with it in, it's actually the key for developing any characteristic. Listen, our relationship with our kids, developing the secure attachment and a positive relation is the foundation. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. You cannot build anything. You cannot nurture anything. You cannot come to a common ground with your kids. You cannot do anything, honestly, without having a secure attachment or a positive relationship with your kid, right? It is the foundation. So if you want to nurture iman, you have to have a relationship with your kids. If you want to teach them responsibility, you have to have a good relationship with them. If you want to teach values and morals and ethics and religiosity, you have to have a positive relationship with them, right? If you want to teach math and science and English, you have to have a relationship with them. So that's why relationship is the foundation. Think about it this way. Relation is just the basic step upon which everything else is built. خلاص? If we lose the relationship, then everything else will be very hard to achieve, if ever possible. Okay? So building that relationship is critical so that we can build everything else. So what is a secure attachment? Again, as I said, it's some kind of an emotional bond. It kind of like the magnetic effect. It's a relationship that attach kids to their parents, right? And it makes them kind of like connected. It gives the kids this sense of connectedness and belonging, which is critical to actually all mammals, but especially humans, right? So we need this kind of connection to thrive and to grow and to be mentally healthy. So what are the components of a secure attachment? How does it look like? What is a secure attachment? So the main two components of secure attachment is basically is to have this relationship. It's a consistent and sensitive attunement and responsiveness with your kids. You have to be attuned and responsive to our kids' needs. So what is attunement and what is responsiveness? Like how does it look like, right? Being attuned to your kids basically is to be able to tune in, okay, to their emotional state, okay, their internal environment. It's the ability of the parents to be sensitive, to perceive and understand their kids' emotional needs, feelings, thoughts, internal environment, experiences. Basically, it's as if you're able to read your child's mind and emotion. It's that ability, because that will guide your responsiveness. That will guide your action. So if you cannot see how he thinks, how he feels, how he's kind of, how is he understanding a situation, how are you going to be able to respond appropriately? It's not going to happen, right? And the other part of that is to be responsive. And responsive, just to put it in a simple term, is to respond in a timely, appropriate, and positive way. Meaning, basically, respond the right way. So I know how he feels, I know what he thinks, I know his experience, I know his likes, I know his dislikes, and now I know how to respond to this particular situation at this particular time the right way. So if we're able to be always attuned and responsive to our kids, that will create what we call the secure attachment that we are all looking for. Okay, so one more thing to say about secure attachment, because I get asked this question a lot, and I know sometimes when people like hear about how important secure attachment is, and later on we're going to talk about the benefits of secure attachment and what it does in our relationship with our kids and everything. The question that is going to pop in some people's head is, okay, but what if my kids are older now? Can I still build that relationship? And then the second question will be how to build this relationship. And the how is going to be, inshallah, most of this series is going to focus about the how to build that secure attachment and positive relationship. But to answer this, just to kind of give the answer before I got even asked, is can we develop it later in life? Like, can we develop it later? Can we have a positive relationship with our kids even if we missed that? Like, my kid is a teen or even young adult. And the short and simple answer is that while the foundational attachment relationship is formed in the first few years of the child's life, like first 3 years, but especially first year and a half, okay? But parents can still work on building and maintaining a secure attachment with their kids as they get older. So it's never late. It's never late, right? And because attachment is kind of a, think about it like it's kind of a lifelong process. And we can always, over time, modify our attachment over time. We can work on it and strengthen it. We can change it as we grow and know more, right? The only thing is that just, we need to be careful about is that the older the kid gets or the child gets, it will need more consistency and more effort, right? It's like more commitment because the brain is already wired for quite some time, which is the number of years that the child already is. And for us to change that, we need to kind of change the wiring, change the perceptions, change certain things that happen and modify them to the new kind of attunement and responsiveness that we want to do, right? So it might be a little, it might take a little longer to develop it. It can be, we will need maybe long-term effort and commitment, but inshallah, it's doable, right? There's also, just to comfort you, is there's also like a plus or an advantage that you can use if your kids are older, which is basically to have an open communication about it, right? Like genuine open communication. And you can work collaboratively with your kids. When kids are older, you can talk to them. You can tell them, you know what, I didn't know earlier. I didn't know that, I thought I'm doing my best. I thought this is the right way of doing things. Maybe I was harsh, or maybe I was permissive, or maybe this or that. But now I'm learning that there's a right way to do things, or a more scientific way to do things, and I really want to work on our relationship together, and I'm really genuine about it. And like, how can we work together on that? So actually, when they're older, if you say that and they're open to listen to that, this will be great, because they can help you out. You can work on the relationship together, okay? That's one thing. You can always say, I'm sorry, if I hurt you in the past, or if something went wrong, I didn't know about that, and I'm willing to change that and go from there, right? So it's never too late. Don't think about things like, oh, it's too late now, I cannot really build the relationship with my kid. Or no, just Bismillah. Say Bismillah. Whatever you weren't able to do before because you didn't know, خلاص, it's in the past. Don't dwell in the past. Just look for the future. Focus on solution. What can I do now? Can I work something out? Yes. And alhamdulillah, Allah created our brains with a extremely beautiful ability to change itself. We can change the wiring of our brains, right? So when we change our dynamics, when we change our thoughts, when we change how we interact with people, that will change. You can change your own brain, but also when you change your behavior with your kids, their perception of the way you're treating them now will change. And that will definitely pour into having a good and positive relationship. Okay. So let's do that, inshallah. So the next question will always be, what about how can I develop this relationship? Like, how can I develop it, right? How does it look like? What do I do? Again, as I said, remember, the simple way of explaining this, the spirit of the attachment, is attunement and responsiveness. right? I will give you just an example of how it looks like so that you have like a mental image. When I say attune, responsive to your kid, let's take a baby, a crying baby. Hmm? When your baby is crying, you can be attuned to him. Oh, I heard the baby crying, right? You need to know. Moms know, for example, and dads. Um, yeah, this cry is him telling me he's hungry, or she is telling me that she's wet, or I guess she has some colic, or I think she's just tired, right? We know our kids. We definitely know our kids. That is attunement. I know their status. I know their internal environment. I know how they feel, right? Of course, it's mostly a guess, right? But most of the time, when you're attuned, you get it right. Okay. So what do? You go and attend to their response. You be responsive. So if they're hungry, you feed them. If they're hot, you take some of the clothes out, off, and then and so on and so forth. If they just want, if they're crying because they want connection, which a lot of parents sometimes miss because of all the sometimes recommendation about, when kids are crying, let them cry it out and stuff like that. Again, that's not responsiveness. Responsiveness is to attend to that, because kids do not only cry because they're hungry or hot or wet, right? Kids cry sometimes because they want comfort, they want touch, they want affection, they want cuddling. These are needs, as we will learn. These are needs. So when we ignore all of that, basically the way it was taught for quite some time is that the needs are the physical needs. Just if they're hungry, thirsty, or hungry, babies are hungry, tired, then put them, like, let them sleep. If they're hot, stuff like that. But a lot of people miss the point that maybe they're crying because they want the connection. These babies were in, like, their mom's womb for 9 months, and that's how they connected. So connection and affection and closeness are needs. These are emotional needs. They're not just spoiled, right? Not that I'm saying if the baby just say, you run. I'm not saying that. There's a way of doing that, but you have to be responsive. Like, right? You, like, if you want to, even like you're preparing like a bottle, or getting like for them something to, or a wipe or something, and it's gonna take a couple of minutes. It's understood, right? But don't leave a baby crying for an hour, saying that he will self-soothe, because that's not true. Babies cannot self-soothe. Self-soothing is a skill that needs time and training, right? It does not happen like that. So that's responsiveness. Another example, a 4-year-old, for example, who wanna just wear her favorite yellow shirt to school, and the school has uniform, for example. Okay, so you have to be attuned. You have to acknowledge the feeling. You have to validate it. You have to tell her, oh, I know you love this shirt, and I know that this is your favorite shirt and you want to wear it today. I totally understand. And then start responding, but in the school they say we cannot wear it. Maybe we can ask the teacher, or maybe we'll see if there is like one day where, like, you don't have to wear the dress code or whatever, right? Be responsive to that. Don't say, the uniform is, you have to wear your school uniform. Don't be silly. Don't cry. No wearing of the yellow shirt. That's not responsiveness, right? Responsiveness is to attune, validate the feeling, let them know that I understand where you're coming from, even if you don't like it, right? It's not about you. These are feelings that kids are having. Just validate it, acknowledge it. This is not going to change the decision, but at least be empathetic. And then when you respond, you respond appropriately and positively. So rather than saying, you're not going to do that, that's so silly. How many times have I told you we're not going to wear this because that's not the school uniform? We don't have to be harsh. We don't have to go this way. Yes, we're going to be firm, right? And we're going to just eventually wear the uniform, but we don't have to be harsh. We can just say, I understand that you love it. I understand that you think you know it's beautiful. I understand that you want to wear it. But that's the school rule, and we can ask the school for like an out of uniform day. Work something out. Talk to them. That's responsiveness, right? An 8 years old who, for example, struggling with a math homework. So rather than, saying, how that's because you don't study. How many times do I need to explain this to you? Just sit and study. Try again harder. Give it your best shot. If we say it like that, that is not responsive. That's not attuned. First, you have to attune to their feelings. You have to see how they feel. They're frustrated. No one wants to be bad in anything. And even if they don't want to sit and do the homework, it's not because they're bad. It's just because it can be boring. Or maybe they feel they're not good in math because they heard you or someone else saying that they're not good in math. So now their brain is telling them I'm not good. So they resist that. So we have to understand these. We have to understand where our kids are coming from, right? And attune to that, and then respond, be responsive in a positive way. So we can always say, yeah, I understand that this might be hard, a little hard, or maybe you're bored, whatever the feeling is, right? And then start working something out. Maybe we can, take a sip of water or refresh for 5 minutes, and then we can sit together and go over the lesson, and so on and so forth. So you got the point. The point is, we have first, in order to be able to respond appropriately and be responsive, we have to attune to the feelings, to the needs of the child, right? Behind any action, behind any human action, even ours as adults, there is a need and a feeling. There's something deeper than the action that you see. There's something underneath. And if we want to succeed and respond appropriately, we have to kind of connect with that. What is it? Like, my child who is struggling with math, is it because people are always telling him that he's not good in math? Is it because he's challenging by another student in class and there's competitiveness and he feels he's not as good as him? Is it because I personally sometimes say some stuff about him that he's not very good in math, or that his sibling is better than him? Right? When these things happen, we have to dig into that and understand what's going on. Or is it simply because he's bored? Right? So this attunement help me, or help us as parents, navigate the right way of being responsive to our kids. With that being said, so what are the components? Now I want to be practical. Okay, now we understand what's attunement and responsiveness, but how does it look like on the ground? Like, what is it that I can do? And again, this is the broad foundation, attunement, responsiveness. But to make it more practical, what I did is I kind of, I read, alhamdulillah, a lot of research, a lot of books about attachment and relationship. And I tried gathering them in a more practical way, in a way where I can make it practical. Like, what is it that I can do to build this relationship as practical as it can get, or as practical as I found, honestly, because that's not me. This is the work of scientists, right? I just compiled it. And those are, I kind of put it together in what I call the 6 S's, right? But like you will find Dr. Daniel Siegel has the 4 S's, Dr. Shfali has the 5 S's, and then Dr. Mate talks about different even category. The point is, forget about the names, forget about the classifications. Everyone will put it in a different way, but the bottom line is, let's make it practical. What is it that I can do, right? What are the things that if I give to my kids, I will build this attachment, and how does it look like on the ground? That's what we're going to be focusing on in most of this course, inshallah. So these 6 S's are basically what will help us develop a secure attachment and a positive relationship with our kids. But these are also the kids' social emotional needs, no wonder Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yani, he knows that our job as parents is not easy. So basically, by fulfilling those social emotional needs, you are already building this secure, connected relationship. What are these 6 S's? So the needs that you need to give your children to build the relation are: they want to feel safe, right? And by safe, I mean they need to feel protected, both physically and emotionally. They need to they need to feel seen, meaning you know them, you pay attention to their internal environment, you give them love, you give them affection, you see them, right? You are delighted when you see them, that you make them feel, loved, like unconditionally, accepted, and valued unconditionally. When they make mistakes, correct the mistakes, no one said anything, but they need to feel loved and valued and accepted. Okay. S number 3 is soothed. Again, kids do not have the ability to self-soothe. They're not born with that ability. This is a skill that will develop over time. And as I said, we will explain it next time, inshallah, like how the brain develops. It needs time for the brain to mature, and it needs also help, like teaching, learning. It needs someone to teach them, right? When they're angry or when they're crying, how to soothe themselves, right? You can teach that, right? Successful. The kids need to feel successful. They need to feel capable. They need to feel competent. They need to feel confident. That's a human need. All of us, even those 6 S's, by the way, are needs that every human needs. The difference is we as adults can get them from different resources, but for kids, we are their only source, right? The caregiver, parents, are the only source. They don't know anyone but us. And subhanallah, if we are not going to give it to them, they're going to get it some other way. And unfortunately, the other way will be from their peers at school, which are kids like them, and so it's not healthy, or from the internet. And that's why we hear about all the problems that is happening around us, because kids are trying to fulfill these needs. And if we are not there to give it, if we're not proactively giving them the right way, the nurturing way, the healthy way, they are going to be desperate. They're going to look for their needs somewhere else. And again, unfortunately, they will take it from whoever is going to give it. And it might be manipulative. It might be unhealthy, which is most probably will be unhealthy. But that's what they found, because we're not available or we're not able to give it, right? S number 5 is significant. Kids need to feel that they count. They have a degree of autonomy. Autonomy is something that we all, as human beings, we want some autonomy. We want some power over our lives. Even little things count, right? Like a kid who wants to feed himself when he's 1.5 or 2 years, and let him do that. Or he wants to put on his jacket. Let them do that. Let them do the little things that they can do under your supervision, right? But let them do it. Let them feel that they can do. They have the power to do something, and then when they put it on, they feel successful, right? I'm capable. Yay, I was able to do it. These are needs. These are not trivial things. Like we think, like, what's the big deal? Like if he can wear a jacket. To us, wearing a jacket is normal, but to a 2 years old, that's a success, right? So and we're going to be talking about that. And then number 6 is sense of direction. Sense of direction means kids are born and they don't know anything. They don't know anything about the world. They don't know anything about what's right and what's wrong, what's halal and what's haram, what ethics should they follow, what values, right? Why the sun is just coming from the east, and why do we have to go to school, and so many different questions. And we have to be like Dr. Matei and Neufeld in their great book, Hold On to Your Kids. say that we need to be their compass point, right? We need to be their compass point. Like, you know, they will come to us for questions. We help them set limits and rules and build skills and teach qualities, right? So these 6 S's are basically the social emotional needs, the main social emotional needs. And when kids get that, they grow mentally healthy, socially emotionally healthy, and at the same time they will be attached to the caregiver who give them that, right? So let's focus on just nurturing these 6 S's and give them to our kids, because we really don't want them to try to get it from their peers or from online, because usually that's not a very healthy avenue to get these, right? Kids are kids, they don't know how to give these things appropriately, right? And online, only Allah knows who they are connecting with online. So so inshallah, let's work on that. What is then the importance of having this secure attachment? I said it, it's like mental well-being. Kids who get those 6 S's, or basically this secure attachment, will grow. These are the foundation of their mental and social emotional well-being. So the kids will personally benefit from that, not just at the level of our relationship with them, but they need it. They needed to grow. They needed to thrive. They needed to be to have this mental well-being, right? So they found like decades of extensive, rigorous, longitudinal, cross-section, cross-cultural research has demonstrated that the best indicator for kids' social emotional well-being and mental well-being is the attachment. What is it that they found? They found that kids who get a secure attachment, positive relationship with their caregivers and parents, basically they have higher self-esteem and motivation, greater academic success, better regulation and coping with stress. They're more resilient, more successful in building relationship, whether peer relationship like friendship, or later on in life, romantic relationship with their spouses. They have stronger leadership skills. They have high social emotional intelligence. They are empathetic people, and they trust life. They're outgoing. They're willing to challenge themselves. All of these are benefits that they got just by fulfilling these needs and establishing this secure attachment, right? So what else? What else do we get? The attachment part, the relationship part, right? So they got all of that, but also we will have a happier and stronger relationship. Children will want to maintain closeness with parents, no matter how old they are. People think of kids, when they will turn 18, they're going to leave the house. The kids who are attached, they actually prefer, if they have the opportunity, to stay with their parents or stay close to their parents. They would be married and stay close to their parents. They are attached, right? They like the fact that they are close to their parents. It maintains a hierarchy between parents and kids, right? It gives parents the authority. And when I say the authority, I don't mean it in a negative way. I don't mean it in we control them or we force them. Authority here is coming from within. The child feels that you are an authority. Like at the end of the day, they have to listen to you. Even if you disagree, they will be willing, right, to listen to you, believe it or not. I know some people are saying, oh yeah, right. Yeah, I know. But subhanallah, Allah doesn't want parenting to be such a like an extremely hard process. That's why all of that depends on this relationship. If we build the relationship, a lot of these things will come automatically. It just comes with it. It's just, buy one get one free. Like we did that, and all of these are coming with the relationship, right? So they found that kids who are attached, they have their decreased misbehavior. They're more compliant with rules and regulations, believe it or not, right? They see parents and the role models of the parents as their own role models, right? Which is one thing that we're all complaining from. It's like, why our kids are not like they don't see us as role models, and or they don't see, like, we want the role model to be the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Sahaba or people like that. Why are they looking like taking models as in just some influencers online or TikTokers or you know, players and singers, you know? And I don't mean anything bad about anyone, but like, you want to guide your kids to a role model that will benefit their lives. Especially as Muslims, we want them not, you know, life is not about just being entertained. Life is about being responsible and productive, right? They found that, you know, when we have the secure attachment, kids, we through this attachment, through this relationship, parents have like a higher influence on their kids' identity, values, ethics, religiosities, their development in general, because the kids tend to adopt your values and religiosity because they feel connected. You know, they like you, they like what you like. Okay, so all of these are benefits that come with the attachment and fulfilling these social emotional needs, right? Like, what if we do not provide our kids with secure attachment? They found that kids who are not getting this, they are at higher risk for hyperactivity, aggression, defiance, less resilience, weaker executive function, and, you know, and go on. Like, a lot of research are giving a lot of even other things. But also, we need to understand that kids want to attach. It's a need. Sorry, it's not a want, it's a need. So again, if we're not going to be the attachment figure, if they're not able to attach to us, so all these benefits that you read in the previous slides are going to go to someone else. No wonder when kids are attached to their peers, they are adopting their lifestyle, which is coming from online. So they're all kind of attached to each other, which is creating a peer culture or a peer orientation, like Dr. Mate and Neufeld said in their book. It's, you know, our kids became peer oriented, because when we're not attached to our kids, they're not attached to us. They will figure out they want to attach to someone, and who's available? Peers at school, right? They spend like half the day, they spend more time with their peers than they spend with us. So they're influencing each other, creating their own culture, and now they're adopting their own values, their own language, their own way of talking, their own role models, their own religion, right? Because the influence now has shifted from being influenced by us, parents or caregiver adults, to being influenced by each other. And since their maturity is not there yet, they cannot even choose the right thing yet because they're still developing, then they would just influence each other in a negative way. Okay. So if investing the time, I cannot stress this enough, investing the time and effort into building a nurturing relationship with your child is one of the most, if not the most important thing that you can do to impact your child's life and to impact your relationship with your child. Okay, so we need to work hard on building this, whether we're starting from just birth with a newborn, or whether my kid is 10, or whether he's 15, or even 20, or even adults. Let's just work on it. Let's change, you know, our relationship. We can do that, right? And as I said, when they grow older, we can always work collaboratively on that, you know. And I understand, I have to say, like, some parents, like, if things were so negative in the childhood, sometimes even parents and kids need to work with someone, right, like a professional, to work their relationship out. But that are in extreme cases when there's trauma or abuse, or the relationship for a reason or another didn't like went so negative, right? But even that, there is therapy for that, right? So we can, inshallah, do it. Just make the dua, purify your intention, focus your effort, and bismillah, inshallah. Okay. one of the questions that I always encounter is, what if not, like, what if the other parent or the other spouse is not on board with that? What can I do? So research so far is telling us that even if only one caregiver can provide the predictability and reliability that the child needs, those needs, that child will still receive the many benefits of the secure attachment, right? And unless and this will help develop like a mentally healthy kid, of course, unless the other parent is abusive or like causing trauma or something really like that's need intervention. But the presence of that person who can connect with the child, the presence of that parent or caregiver who can give the child the secure attachment is critical, and definitely he or she will benefit from those so many benefits from developing a secure attachment that we talked about. Okay, so let's move to our next part, which is basically building the relationship, the how. So I said, yeah, there are 6 S's that we need to develop, but how are we going to structure this relationship? Okay, now we will begin from 0 now. What should we do? First, before I say how to implement the 6 S's, which is going to be the focus of our last 4 sessions, we first, if I'm building a relationship between 2 people, I need to understand a little bit about the characteristics of these 2, right? So today's session, inshallah, I'm going to be focusing upon understanding ourselves. We need to understand us, right? As parents. Do we have barriers that hold us back from establishing that secure attachment? I know this might sound weird, but the answer is yes, right? And we will see how. So we need to understand ourselves. So step 1, which is going to be today's session, is going to focus on establishing, like, understanding ourselves. What baggage do we have? And what baggage do we carry and we parent our kids with? So that's today's session. The second session will be about understanding our kids, understanding how child brain works, how does it develop, what they can understand and grasp, and what is it that they cannot. And we will talk a little bit about temperament traits and how it affects personality, right? So after we understand ourselves and our baggage, and then understanding our kids and how their brain works, then the last 4 sessions after that, we're going to focus on what should we do, which are, we're going to take these 6 S's and we're going to go in details about how to implement the 6 S's and give our kids those like safety, seen, soothed, successful, significant, and having a sense of direction. Okay? And us, let's start with us. You know, usually I like to call it ghosts from the past, because these are things that happen to us in our own childhood that is affecting the way we interact with our kids, not only with our kids, actually, the way we interact with people, right? With our spouses, with adults, with colleagues at work, right? And sometimes it's you know, it impacts our life, the way we ourselves were parented, right? So for parents to be able to build a secure attachment, they need to be, first thing, we need to be emotionally self-aware. Like I keep telling you, oh, we have to be like attuned to our kids and responsive and understand their internal environment. We need to understand their feelings. We need to understand their needs. But guess what? We have to understand our feelings and our needs and our thoughts, and like this whole thing, we need to understand ourselves first, right? So we need to regulate our reactions before we parent. And why is that? Because remember, we are impacted by the way we were parented, the way our parents dealt with us, right? So the way they dealt with us on daily basis, the way they parenting strategies they use, their discipline techniques, their communication style, if we were subjected to a childhood trauma, if we were subjected to like adverse, childhood experiences, abuse, and, and other stuff, uh, beliefs that were consolidated or ingrained in us during childhood, conditioning, all of this, the way our parents dealt with emotions, right? The way the environment that we lived in dealt with emotions. Like for example, if emotions were tabooed and suppressed, uh, like the way our parents and our caregivers dealt with emotions, like they tabooed them or suppressed them, then it would be very hard for us to avoid it, I mean, it can lead that we will avoid or even dismiss feelings. So when our kids react or do something or fear something, if we didn't get it, we're not able to see it, we're not able to give it back, we're not able to, so we can be avoidant or dismissive to emotions, right? If our parents were emotionally distant or unresponsive, we might struggle with like being like to tune in to our kids' feelings and empathize with them, right? We don't have a blueprint. We don't know how it's done. It sounds weird, right? For example, experiencing parental outbursts or inability to manage their intense emotions can lead, actually, it might make it very hard for us as parents now to stay calm, right? Because there was the modeling, there was certain like modeling the way our parents or caregivers dealt with emotions, and even if we didn't like it, and even if we ourselves resented it when we were younger, subhanallah, it kind of our brains got wired somehow to that, and we find ourselves repeating what had happened to us in the past, right? Like they say, I opened my mouth and my mom's words came out. I was like, huh, did I just say that? That's my mom. My mom used to say that, or my dad used to do that, right? Subhanallah. So that's basically the wiring. So we need to reflect upon the way we were brought up, our experiences, our traumas, our insecurities, beliefs, conditioning, expectation, all of that. Like I like to say that we have an archive in our head, right? We have this archive like box in our head that is where everything that happened in our lives is archived. There are so many folders, and folder about everything that we have like happened to us throughout our lives. And then what happens is that we filter everything, every future event, the way we parent our kids, incidents that happen to us, through that archive. It becomes the filter. We will talk about that part in specific, inshallah, next session, when we're talking about brain development and how this happened. We will see how this archive is developed and how it becomes the filter through which we perceive things. When something happened, it passes through this archive, and our brain gives a meaning based on our experiences and traumas and insecurities and so on and so forth, right? So so the past, we tend basically to repeat, or at least we are so affected by what happened in our past, and it got wired in our brain without stopping and reflecting upon it. And the reason why I'm presenting this part today is because I want everyone to stop and reflect when you feel angry, or when you feel like this reaction was not like, was too much. Why did I do that? Why did I yell? I should have waited. It doesn't make sense to me that I did that. When you have such encounters, just stop and reflect. Why did you do that in the first place, right? Where is it coming from? Which part of your archive is coming from? Is it childhood? Is this something that happened to you personally? Did it become a trigger? Because most of the time these are triggers in our head, right? And our kids, poor kids, without knowing it, they just kind of press our buttons, right? So like Dr. Mate like to put it, he says traumas are like like, or triggers, they are like a wound, right? It's there. If someone touch it, just the touch, when you touch it, you explode, severe pain, not like touching any other area, right? And that's because it's a trigger. It's an area that you have heightened sensitivity for that. So the kids, without knowing, they might be doing something very simple, very normal for a child, right? Mistakes. Some parents cannot accept mistakes. And this can be because their parents were very punitive. They didn't accept mistakes either. They make them feel that they're not good enough. They make them feel that making mistakes is bad, and they are bad. So they don't have tolerance. They see mistakes as like bad things. So when they see their kids doing that, they get triggered, right? So there's a lot about that. Of course, I cannot cover all of that in this course. This has a course of its own, right? Inshallah, we will put it on, inshallah, soon. We'll upload it soon. The Conscious Parent, Understand Yourself, where we are going to dig into the so many different things that can happen to us during our childhood, and how it formed triggers, and then how these triggers kind of control the way we react, and how it hijack our brain, and we start going down the fight, flight, freeze response, or an autopilot, not working rationally, right? Working just emotionally because of that. So, but that's inshallah another course. After I said all of that, and I know like everyone now is saying, oh my God, like what happened in my childhood now? We have good news, right? Because probably we're thinking, okay, so if this happened to me in my childhood, what can I do? The good news is, through this awareness and through stopping and reflecting, we can, and through becoming consciously aware of why we're doing that, and where is it coming from, and having this, making sense of it, we can change. We have the ability, inshallah, to choose what experiences we want to repeat, and then in our parenting with our kids, and what experiences we want to abandon. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I want to be sensitive. Maybe my parents were avoidant. Maybe they saw emotions as trivial or unimportant or even harmful. No, I'm not going to do that. I want to be more attuned to my kids' feelings, right? So we have the choice how to do it. I know lots of details when it comes to that, but it's doable. The first step is awareness. And for some people, just awareness just give you this aha moment. Is like, oh yeah, this is coming from that. Okay, I got it. No, I need to work on that. I'm gonna change that. Sometimes it's simple, but I have to warn you, sometimes it needs more than that. Sometimes it needs like talking and reflecting and talking and reflecting, and sometimes it even needs professional help, right? So so the first, for the sake of this series, in today's session, I'm only gonna shed light on basically 3 different childhood experiences that really affect the way we parent our kids tremendously, right? The first one is our childhood attachment, our own attachment with our parents. Okay, as I said, research and scientific research is telling us now that people mostly remain in the same childhood attachment type in adulthood, despite all the experiences that they gain throughout life. Like like if I got an insecure attachment, the most probably that I will pass the same attachment to my kid, unless something happened that changed that gave me awareness. Awareness doesn't have to be through a lecture, right? Like we're talking and I say, oh, we have to be aware. No, it can come through reading a book, or you listen to a videotape, or you studied in school or college something that give you that awareness. Or it can come through seeing, like having like a friend or a spouse who have different kind of attachment that give you this awareness, so you can change it. But if awareness doesn't happen, whether consciously or subconsciously, most people will tend to repeat their childhood attachment, right? So gaining the awareness makes that, and making sense of our own history is the first step. Challenging ourselves and saying, yes, this happened to me in the past, but I do not want to pass this to my kids. I want to stop it. I want to change that, right? Sometimes we call it like, I want to stop the cycle, because if I'm going to take it from my parents and give it to my kids will give it to their kids, and their kids will give it to their kids, and so on. We need to interrupt this cycle, sometimes called generational trauma. We want to stop that. If it's insecure, if it's secure attachment, great. Keep it going. Keep the cycle going. No problem, right? So that's the first thing. Having a secure attachment with our parents is critical. Whether it's secure or not, the thing is, our brain in our early childhood gets wired to the kind of attachment we get. And when I say wired, I'm talking about literally wiring the physical structure of the brain. So that's what the brain understands, right? So that's how I see life, because when I grew up with my caregivers, and that's what I got. So my brain doesn't know except this. Okay, so I'm talking here about literal wiring of the brain, not just something figurative, right? So what are the different kinds of attachment that we have? First, let's reflect upon our own childhood attachment. There are 4 types of attachment. Actually, there are 2, which are secure attachment and insecure attachment. But the insecure, there are 3 subtypes of insecure attachment. So the secure attachment is basically when parents are sensitive, attuned, and responsive to the child. We talked about this, how to be attuned and responsive, right? The child brain assumes or is wired to believe, since it's wiring, we said attachment is wiring, right? So the child will grow up believing, when he gets secure attachment, that I am safe, my parents they respond to me timely or quickly, they are sensitive to my need, I can trust other people, and my emotions are real and they are worthy of being expressed and respected. So those people who are very very confident, they go out and express themselves, and they don't shy away from even making mistakes and correcting them. Most of the time it's because they have a secure attachment. Okay, so because secure attachment, the parent acts as a safe haven for the kid. It acts as a secure base from which the kid grows and go out and explore and try things out. They're not afraid of the world, right? On the other hand, there are the insecure attachment. Insecure attachment, these are 3 different types. There's the insecure avoidant, ambivalent, and disorganized, right? And, as I go over them, I want everyone to kind of think about their own childhood. An avoidant, an insecure avoidant, these are parents who lack the sensitivity, attunement, and responsiveness to the kids. Meaning, what does this mean? It means that the parents are, if the kids, we give examples about how to be attuned and responsive. So the kid is crying, let him cry. you know, let me finish what I'm doing. It can be like 30 minutes, it can be 20 minutes, and the kid is crying. You don't even know what it is, right? Or your kid come and ask for something, it's like, not now, just go, right? Or not respond, or not answer, or assume things that are not true because you're not attuned, right? Like the kid is coming for a math question, and rather than understanding that the kid is struggling, you know, you see this as laziness, and it's just like, you're lazy, go try it out, and you're mean about it, right? That's you know, here you're not reading the emotion, you're not reading the child, you're not attuned, and you're not responsive, right? You can be harsh. And but most importantly, avoidant is you avoid emotions, you don't read emotions, you don't, you know, people with avoidant, they kind of think that emotions are a sign of weakness or are not important. You don't want to stop at this level, right? And the kids who get this kind of attachment here will feel like my parents are maybe physically available, right? But they don't care about how I feel. They don't care about my needs. So I learned that my emotions are not important. So guess what? I will ignore them, because I will learn if emotions are not important, then I should ignore my own emotions and then the emotions of everyone else. It's a belief about emotions, right? And I will avoid communicating my emotions to my parents or anyone else, right? And sometimes kids with avoidant, who have like an avoidant relationship or with their parents, you will see them falsely independent, right? And the reason why I said, or unhealthily independent, why? They try doing their own thing. They don't talk to parents anymore. They don't talk to anyone about their feelings. They don't talk to anyone about anything, and they just go and perform whatever. And we think, oh wow, they're independent. But this is unhealthy independence, because it's coming from a place of anxiety. It's coming from a place of detachment, right? It's coming of a place of insecurity. It's coming from a place where I don't have anyone to go to. I don't even believe in my own feelings, and I cannot express my feelings to anyone because no one cares. So let me just do whatever I'm doing. It's coming from that place, not from healthy independent, where I feel I'm attached, I'm secure, I have my support system, but I want to go and explore the world. It's okay to go and try and fail and try again. That's see, these are two different places. That's why there is like healthy independence and unhealthy independence, right? The third type is insecure ambivalent. And that's when the parent give kind of like, sometimes they're attuned and sensitive and responsive, sometimes they are not. It's kind of a combination. And the kids coming from this kind of attachment, they actually, you know, they feel that they don't know, they cannot predict. They feel so anxious. They can never know how their parents will respond. They're always on edge because they don't know, are they going to be sensitive and responsive this time, or are they going to ignore them, right? So there's confusion, there's anxiety, there, you know, and they usually grow up feeling like I cannot trust people, right? You know, I cannot, you know, I cannot predict how they will act. I'm always suspicious about people and the responses. When they do something good, it's like, why did they do that? And when they do something bad, oh yeah, that's totally expected, right? So this whole thing comes from sometimes from early childhood attachment. The fourth kind is the insecure disorganized, and that one is basically it's a severe form. Actually, it's an insecure, but this level, it's where the parents are severely unresponsive, severely, not just avoidant, no, severely unresponsive. Sometimes it can be neglectful, right? And they can also be scary. Like the not only they are not responsive, but they can be scary and frightening to the kid and confusing. And the kid's brain is wired in this kind of attachment to feel like my parent is terrifying. It's confusing. I don't feel safe. I'm helpless. I'm scared. People are scary. People are unreliable. I cannot depend on anyone, right? So, and the thing is, if we don't stop and work on our insecure attachments, most of the time, I'm not saying always, most of the time, we might carry the same kind of attachment and pass it to our kids, or do the same with our own kids, right? So we need to stop and reflect upon our attachment. Now, again, the good news is history doesn't have to be destiny, right? We can get an insecure attachment, yet we can stop, reflect, and change our attachment with our kids to a secure kind of attachment. How can we do that? Yes, we cannot change the past, but we can definitely change, inshallah, the future, right? Make dua and try to develop what we call a coherent narrative. What's a coherent narrative? A coherent narrative is basically we reflect on our past family experiences or childhood experiences, positive and negative, reflect upon the whole thing, acknowledge them, make sense of what happened to us, right? And then understand how these experiences affected you and affected your brain wiring and the way you are parenting your kids and the way you're even carrying your relationships with everyone else, right? So by stopping and doing that, that can really help. What is an example of a coherent narrative? I will give you an example of a coherent narrative just to make it like easier for us to grab. In his book, The Power of Showing Up, Dr. Daniel Siegel give us kind of an example of a narration of a story. He said, like, when, you know, this is one of the moms narrating her own story. She said, like, something along the lines of, like, my mom was always frustrated and angry at us, right? I know she loved us, but I also know that her life was really hard, right? She was angry. She always yelled. She always screamed. And she even gets physical with us. But I know where this is coming from. She lived a very harsh life. Her mom has had depression, and her dad was, you know, had to work for, like, you know, very busy with work, trying to support the family. So she had to take care of her siblings. She had 4, or I guess 6 siblings, and she had to take care of all 6 siblings. So she wanted to make sure that everything's going as perfect as possible and everything's under control and no one's messing around, because she doesn't want the backlash from the parents. So she was trying to take care of everyone. She was trying to, you know, so she was stressed and anxious over that, right? And now, and then when she had us, that's the mom still narrating her story, she started yelling at us, she started screaming at us, and sometimes getting physical, because she wanted everything to be as perfect as possible. She was afraid. Now I worry, the mom continues, now I worry about the fact that sometimes I do some of those things, right? But also sometimes I actually let my kids get away with so many things, because I'm afraid that, you know, I'm afraid to put the same kind of pressure that I went through with my mom on my kids. So this is kind of an example of how you tell yourself the story of your own childhood, what happened from your parents, and then how your parents ended up this way. So sometimes you even have to tell their story, what they were subjected to. This helps you understand where they're coming from, because like most of the time, like, parents do what they do with good intention. They're doing the best that they can, up to their ability and up to their knowledge. I'm not saying that they all did the right thing. Of course, we make mistakes, but understanding the narrative and being able to understand why this happened sometimes give us some wisdom, right? It makes us understand that, yeah, I wish like life would go perfect and everything would be great, and I get the 6 S's and everything will be fine. And of course, that's the best. But I also understand that some parents cannot do that, whether because their situation is hard, whether because they don't know even what we're talking about, right? And in their mind, they thought that they're doing their best. Okay, doesn't make it right, but it makes sense now. Okay, so going with this, saying this narrative, right? Like this lady was able to say the narrative. She was able to understand what happened to her in her past. Not only that, but she was able to understand what happened in her parents' past, right? With their own parent. And then she acknowledged it. She made sense of it. She was able to even find in herself the compassion for her mom and the burden that was put on her as a child, right? And then how this whole experience affected her relationship with her own kids, her parenting experience with her own kids, right? So sometimes when we do things like that, it helps us like kind of like, oh, I'm doing this because of that. Oh, when I yell, it's because this. When I'm controlling, it's because of that. That helps a lot, right? So this actually is good. So the developing this coherent narrative is basically we gain awareness, we tell the story, and gain the acknowledgement and make sense of our story, and then work on our relationship with our kids. With that being said, I have to say that sometimes this process is easy, not as easy as it sounds. Sometimes it's, that awareness is so helpful, but again, I have to reiterate that sometimes, we need the help, sometimes of a friend or a spouse, but in some cases we might need like to seek professional help, right? Our brain is not able, again, this is a wiring of the brain. These are things that our brain are wired, and we don't even know why it's wired this way. We cannot recall. We don't have the story. Like sometimes I talk to some parents and I say, just come up with your coherent narrative, and they say, we don't know anything about our parents. It's like what they went through is like, we don't know. They never told us. We never talked like that. They never told us how their own childhood looked like. We don't know. All what we know is what our parents did with us, which is okay. But so sometimes it is hard. Other times it's easier, right? And the point of developing this, again, it's not developing the coherent narrative and knowing the story is not to run from it and not to get preoccupied by it. The point is we need to heal from that. We need to kind of unstuck ourselves from the past, because sometimes we get stuck and we cannot move forward. Sometimes we need to let go. And it's also comforting to a great point, honestly, to know sometimes that what we're doing is not because we are bad people, but it has to do with the way we got wired, and that will help us a lot. Just untangle this and change it. It comforts us, because a lot of parents will come and tell me like, I'm a very bad parent. It's like, why? I do this, and just to let them know that yes, you have to change that. It's your responsibility. No one's gonna argue about that. But the reason why it happened might not, you're not the cause of why it happened. But now that you're aware of what happened to you, that is step one of changing. Right? Now you're going to be conscious about it. You are going to be cognitively responsible for it, right? But you're not doing that because you're a bad person. So that is sometimes really, really helpful. Now, so that is the attachment. So knowing your attachment with your parent is really important and helps. The second thing that I want to draw the attention for is our emotion parenting style. And according to Dr. John Gottman, with the famous Gottman Institute, right? He kind of did extensive longitudinal research on parents, over I guess his research was over the period of 30, 40 years, something like that. He followed kids to see the way the effect of the way the parents deal with emotions, specifically emotions. And he was able to categorize parents into 4 different types. And when I say categorize, again, when we do any category, it's not to label people again, it's just categories are patterns, right? And sometimes when things are put in patterns and categories, it's easier for us to grasp and understand rather than just say words and sentences. So categorization helps us understand and see things more clearly, right? But also we don't have to fit in one category or the other. You might find yourself mostly in one or two categories, but sometimes minimally doing that, right? We're humans. So you will find basically yourself doing some of everything, but what is the main, what is the majority of time, which category do you fall in? So Dr. John Gottman divided those categories into the dismissive style, disapproving style, the laissez-faire style, and the emotion coach, right? And the first one is the dismissing style. And to make it easier so that we can understand it, I will try to apply the way a dismissing style parent, or all the styles, apply to a situation. So let's take a situation of Layla, a 10 years old, who came home from school really sad because her friend did not invite her to her party. Okay, she invited some of the girls, but she didn't invite her. So she was sad because of that. So let's see how a dismissing style parent will react to that. So if dismissing style, basically, these are parents who believe that feelings are trivial, or, sometimes they would think they're manipulative in certain cases, of course, right? But they're trivial, they're not important, they're not good. And their action is usually, their focus is how to get rid of them, right? How to let them disappear, how to minimize them, how to ignore them, basically how to deny them. It's like, let them go, let them go. So most of the time they try to, rather than acknowledge and validate the feelings, they try to distract the child from the feeling by changing the subject or doing something else, or by totally ignoring it as if it didn't happen so it can go away. So let's apply this to the Layla example. Layla example is like, she will come, she looks sad, and attuned parent will know that Layla is sad because she knows the facial expressions, and she knows that, oh, my kid is sad, she looks down. And they will ask, they're responsive, remember? And they will ask, oh, what happened, right? So sometimes they're not attuned or responsive, but they still know if Layla is really sad. So it's like, what's going on? What happened? And Layla will tell the story that my friend didn't invite me, invited other friends, but didn't invite me to her party. And that parent will react in a dismissive way, like, something along the lines of, it's okay, it's not a big deal, so what? No one cares about Layla's party. One of these, of course, I will exaggerate just to highlight the point, but the answers are gonna be along these lines. It's like, no one cares about the party. We can have our own party. Who cares about parties? Don't be silly. Why are you so sad? Maybe she has other stuff to take care of. Like, let's go eat dinner, or let's get ice cream, and then we start to distract, or go to your room and change your clothes and then come back. So the point is, feelings are something that's not very important, right? Let's just brush it off. Let's just ignore it. Let's just deny it. This is not at a conscious level. Remember, they're not consciously doing that. That's how their brain is wired, right? So next time you listen to feelings, see which kind of parent you are, okay? Most of the time, those parents, they don't see the feelings. You know what I mean? They do. A lot of parents, they just see actions. They don't see feelings. Like, if the kid is crying for a broken toy, they see this as misbehavior. They cannot understand that for a 3 years old or 4 years old, his broken toy is the world. And he's just sad or mad. And it's okay. We can teach them how to, to behave if they're misbehaving, but we shouldn't deny feelings. So some parents also from this category also think that, you know, let kids manage their emotions. Emotions are not important. Let them manage it. And actually, this is the way they develop resilience, and you know, they should self-soothe. Again, we said self-soothe does not happen this way. So the thing is, when kids are raised with parents which adopt the dismissing style mainly, these kids will always doubt their own feelings, because it's like, I feel sad, but my mom is telling me, or my dad is telling me that this is silly, or I shouldn't be sad actually, or, you know, just like, I find it interesting. It's like, subhanallah, when people like have someone who, like a dear friend who passes away, or and people will go and say, oh, don't be sad. And it's like, you know, sometimes it's like, how come don't be sad? And usually we give it like sometimes the religious you know, uh peace, and say, you know, like, be a mu'min, or believe in Allah. And what does this have to do with that? Right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he cried for his son Ibrahim, right? This is rahmah, this is mercy. It's okay to feel sad. But sometimes we don't know, we kind of feel weird around emotions. So we try to, like, okay, it's okay, don't be sad, you know, it's okay, you know, we want it to go. So kids grow up denying their own emotions, and they find it difficult to regulate the emotions, because if I'm denying my emotion, how am I going to regulate it? Right? I don't want to see it in the first place. And usually, most of the time, those kids will mostly won't share feelings over time, because they feel like no matter what I say, it's not validated, it's not appreciated, like it's not even acknowledged. So what's the big deal? So that is the dismissive style. The second style is the disapproving style. The disapproving style basically is it's worse than the dismissing style. It's when we believe that feelings are irrational, they are a sign of weakness, they can be, they're bad. You know, it's one degree above the dismissive, right? It's bad. We don't want it. And usually those parents, they're more judgmental. It's not about denying and ignoring and then distracting. No, this is about judging and criticizing and even punishing, right? So let's apply this to Layla's situation. So when Layla come to a disapproving style parent, the parent will say, why are you making a big deal out of this? You're so silly. You're such a silly girl. But people do not cry for parties. You see people like in all over the world, they can survive. They want food, and you're here crying for a party. How silly you are, how bad this is. Just go to your room. And some parents will even be punitive, like, if I hear you crying anymore, there's no dinner for you tonight, or you're not going out, or whatever. And they punish the kids just for feelings. Why do we punish for feelings? I mean, it's not even a misbehavior, it's just a feeling. And guess what? Kids will grow up again, same thing, doubting their own feelings. They having difficulty regulating their feelings, and they won't share. Actually, it's even a step harder. And you know, it's hard for these kids to be able to reconcile feelings with punishment, you know. So guess what? When they grow up, if their brain is wired this way, they're going to do the same thing, because they don't know how to do otherwise. A lot of parents actually kind of they're afraid to validate feelings, because they think, if I validate feelings and the kid is misbehaving, this means that I acknowledge or I approve of the misbehavior. Let's just set the record straight. Feelings are different than behaviors. Okay? Feelings are okay, no matter how, like, angry, sad, mad, whatever, right? They're feelings. Yes, you can talk about them, you can make sense of them, right? You can even change them, transform them, like help, of course, help someone. You cannot transform someone else's feelings. You can transform your own. But behaviors are different. And that's why that's sometimes confusing to parents. Like if Layla, for example, had said a bad word to her friend who didn't invite her for the party, like let's say, I hate you, for example, or I don't like you or something, that's a behavior. We need to talk to Layla later on, after validating the feeling. We said, oh, it looks like this hurt, or looks like you're sad because you weren't invited. I understand. And after Layla opens up and we have a discussion, then we can always bring, like what she said, and problem solve and set limits and talk about what happened wrong. But because we're so afraid, like if we acknowledge the feelings, that this Layla might think like I approve of her misbehavior, then we don't acknowledge. That's wrong. Okay? So I hope this point is clear. The laissez-faire style is basically someone who accepts the emotions, because I mean, emotions are emotions. They're in there, right? They're like, emotions are organic complexes that develop because of how the wiring happens and the experiences play and the perception in our brain. So the laissez-faire style, they accept the emotions, but they don't do anything about it. They don't problem solve. They don't, like, if there's a misbehavior, they just, their focus is, again, I acknowledge the feeling, but I want it to go. Okay, so they want feelings to go away, but the difference is not by ignoring them or punishing them. It's by letting the child ride out the emotional storm. It's like, get it out. So you can cry, you can yell, you can scream, you can say all what you just get it out. But they are not teaching kids any skills, right? So they're not setting limits. So for example, in a Layla situation, so if she said that to a friend, she might, like, she's upset. The mom might say something like, I'm gonna talk to the girl's mom and tell her to invite you. Or how dare Layla do, how dare this girl do that to you? She should have invited you. Tomorrow I will come to school and talk to her, or talk to her mom. And then even if Layla say a bad word or something, she will not stop later on, even after Layla calms. Remember, we do not correct the behavior when kids are emotional, right? We need to first calm the emotions down, and we will talk about this next session, inshallah, how the brain works. And after they calm down, then we can explore, we can set limits or problem solve, right? But this parent, the laissez-faire, does not do that. Khalas, it's like what haven't happened. So they don't teach skills. So kids coming from this parenting style, they have difficulty regulating their emotions, because they learn that when just let it out. Okay, and they usually have problems with friends and relationships in general, because people will not accept that. So they usually, these kids, sometimes they have this sense of entitlement, like, because they got used to just riding the emotional storm. So they just, sometimes they get angry, they get upset, they have this sense of entitlement, and a lot of people will not accept that. So they found that these kids are not very good. They have problems making relationships, right? And making friendships and maintaining relationships. Okay. The next and the last style is the emotion coach. Those are the parents who believe that all feelings are acceptable, right? Emotions are feelings, are emotions and feelings. We can validate them, but not all behaviors are acceptable. Though those are the ones who will put distinction. So they will validate feeling, but they will teach emotional regulation, and they will go back and provide guidance, and they will problem solve, and they will talk to their kids about what they can do or what they should not do, and so on and so forth, after the kids calm down. So in a Layla situation, an emotion coach will say, oh, I see this must have been very hard on you. I understand that, it sounds like you're sad, and I understand this can make you feel sad, because you're going to miss out all the fun. So here we acknowledge we acknowledge and validated the feelings, right? And Layla will probably say something along the lines of, yes, mama, I wanted so much to go. They're going to have balloons and this and that. And the mom will say, yeah, sounds like so much fun. And I know it's hard. I know, it's not easy to, to not go to a party like that. And then when Layla calms down, the mom will always carry a conversation like, what do you want to do about it? How do you think about it? Let her brain, after her emotional brain calms down, and if this happened at the moment, then great, continue the conversation. Sometimes emotions are intense that kids need some time to calm down, then we can continue the conversation later on. So depending on the situation, actually. But after they calm down, we need to have a conversation about it. It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk to your friend? Do you want to say something? Do you want to do something about it? And kids will start thinking, no, I guess there's nothing to do. I mean, maybe her mom told her to only invite 3 friends or 4 friends, so that's why I wasn't invited. Or maybe they would just accept it. No, there's nothing to do. But then if Layla said a bad word or something, then after mom calmed down, she said, when we were talking about this, you said something. I don't know if you caught what you said about your friend, and probably Layla would say, oh yeah, I said that. What do you think about that? And carry the conversation and problem solve and set limit. I don't want to go into this because again, that's another whole different workshop. It has steps and everything, but the point is that those parents, they validate feelings, and then they not stop at the validating the feelings just like the laissez-faire, but no, they teach emotional regulation, and they provide guidance, and they problem solve, and they set limits as needed, right? So those kids will know in the future how to regulate their emotions because they learned. Remember, we said we're not born with the ability to self-soothe. We need to learn, right? It needs time for our brain to mature and teaching. So they will learn that over time through these interactions with the caregiver. They learn like how to deal with sadness, how to deal with being mad, how to deal with frustration, how to cope positively, how to correct mistakes if I did a mistake, right? They will be able to problem solve and manage their own behavior later on in life. Right here is like I just put briefly the steps that they do, being available, listen attentively to the story, to Layla's story, don't interrupt. Some parents keep like, then what happened? Then what did she say? Then who said what? Who is she invited? The names are not important, mama. It's just Layla's not invited. But what I'm saying is listen attentively and do not interrupt at the beginning. Then if you want to ask some questions to clarify, that's absolutely okay. But just make it like brief because you don't want to shut down the doors for conversation. Then you can name the feeling, especially with little kids. If you're not used to do that with your kids, then I have to caution you with teens don't like if you name the feelings. If they're not used to that, they will tell you, why are you telling me how I feel? So you can skip that. Just acknowledge. You can say, I see this can be hard, or I understand that this can be frustrating, or, something along these lines. And then respond appropriately as needed. So sometimes all what the kid need is just someone to listen. They don't want anything. There's nothing wrong happened. They didn't say anything bad. All what they wanted is to just talk to someone about how sad they are, and they did. And you kind of acknowledged, validated, helped out. Thank you. And then if they misbehaved because of their feeling, then again, wait until they calm down and then carry like a positive and conversation to teach them how to deal with their mistakes, and again, set limits and problem solve. Okay. So that when it comes to our second baggage, right? We said the first thing that we want to draw awareness to is our attachment style. The second one is our is the emotion styles, and this is the third and the last one, which is the personality styles that we kind of develop over time because, again, of the way we were parented. Not only parented, it's not just about parenting, of course, although parenting and what caregivers do is the main focus, but yet the rest of life also is affecting our personality. It's not just what parents do, it's what siblings do, it's what teachers do, it's what adults in our lives do, it's what kids in our lives do, right? So to start this, usually in an interactive workshop, usually, and that is usually done through the positive discipline, and they usually like to talk about the Adlerian personality priorities, right? And they ask, this is a list of sentences. Which one is the least, makes you feel least comfortable? You don't like this line. So all of them are not they are all of the sentences or all of the words will cause them discomfort. No one likes all of them, but which one is your least favorite? Is it when you're subjected to criticism, ridicule, humiliation? Or is it when you are subjected to rejection or conflict or confrontation? Is it when you're subjected to stress, pain, responsibility, or high expectations? Or is it when you feel unimportant or meaningless or inferior? And the way they do it is, and that the 4 personality priorities are just an Adlerian school of it's by Alfred Adler, and they I have to mention that there are so many different classifications for personality, right? But I found this to be the most simple one because it's only 4 categories, and it's also closely related to parenting. Like it's like you can apply it as a parent to a kid and see how it affects your parenting. So again, I have to say that these 4 are, when we categorize anything, again, it's not meant to label anyone, because I know after I do, especially this workshop, parents start pointing fingers. Oh, you're control, you're pleasing, you're comfort, you're this and that. The point is not to label people, right? The point is to raise awareness about your style. And again, we might not fit in one style, we might fit in 2 or sometimes more. Sometimes in certain situations, we will adopt one style over the others. But again, we're talking about the majority, like mostly you fit in which category or which 2 categories, right? And they tell us that if criticism, ridicule, and humiliation are the things that you like least, then you are mostly a control personality priority. If it's rejection, conflict, and confrontation, then probably you're a pleasing personality priority. If it's stress, pain, responsibility, and expectation, then you're more of a comfort. And if it's the last one, then you're a superiority personality priority. What does this mean? Right? I know it sounds very, what's that? So let's first say that personality priorities also, these are just like everything else we talked about, this is kind of wiring of the brain that happened in early childhood and then later in life. And this is basically, these are kind of, some psychologists like to say they are survival mechanisms. Like we're born in a family, there are interactions, whether with parents, with siblings, with people in the neighborhood, with teachers, with grandparents, family, everyone around us, right? So we came into this world and we have all these dynamics. And then the brain, to survive whatever challenges, because we're all challenged, even if our parents are like our childhood is like pretty decent, but there are challenges in life, right? So everyone kind of, the brain actually subconsciously pick a mechanism to survive, to defend itself, to survive whatever situation that their brain perceives as, harsh or hard for them, right? So basically, think about it as a survival mechanism. It's not conscious. You don't choose it as in, what do I want to be? It doesn't happen this way. It's just, it's a subconscious thing. No one chooses who he is. It happened that you would try things, but then your personality will choose somehow, your brain will be wired to choose one that will work for you. And this one is what your brain perceives as will help you navigate the challenges, okay, of life. And it's really helpful in childhood. It's just, it doesn't go away. Like maybe it helps. Sometimes it's really helpful for surviving, you know, your challenges, but later on you get stuck sometimes with some of the negative impacts or the weaknesses of these personality priorities. So let's just dig into that to be able to understand them more. So the first personality priority is the control personality priority. And the way they usually talk about it is usually they have goals, they have strengths, those personality priority, and they have weaknesses, and what's the impact they cause on people, and how can we develop personal growth for the weakness? How can we improve ourselves, basically? So the goal of a control personality priority is basically, I want to control myself, I want to control others, and I want to control the environment. That is my survival. For me to not get criticized or ridiculed or humiliation, the only way to survive is to control everything. I have to tell everyone what to do, when to do it, how to do it, have backup plan for things. I cannot afford for things to go wrong, right? And they usually give this personality the symbol of the lion, right? Things have to go my way. It's like my way or the highway, right? So I'm the king of the jungle. Yani people under my, under my household, or sometimes even at work, you can tell, like these are like, even sometimes we mess around and say, oh, he's controlling, she's so controlling, she wants everything to go her way, she cannot take the fact that someone else can voice their opinion, right? Those people. And again, I will present the extreme, the extreme, the extreme, so that the extreme of the personality priority, so that it just to highlight the point. But again, there are different degrees of control. There are people who are extremely controlling, but there are people who are mildly or moderately controlling, right? And again, you don't have to fit in one category. You can fit in two or even all four of them, but you will find yourself more in one or two of them, right? So those people want to control everything because that's the way it keeps them less anxious. That's how their brain tells them, if you want to be comfortable and calm and not subjected to any problems, you have to do things your way, and people around you have to do the things your way. And the strength of this personality priority, actually, these people are pretty, like, they're leaders, they are very organized, they are productive, they are assertive, right? They're responsible, and that's great strength that we want to keep. That's great. We want to keep these things. But on the other hand, there are weaknesses for this personality priority, is that, because they can be really anxious when something goes wrong, right? They get anxious, they get angry sometimes, right? They feel so tense if people don't listen to them or didn't abide by the rules. If I'm talking about parenting, so when they're kids, so if I'm a control parent and my kids are not listening, oh, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Like, I can be angry, I can, I will be tense. That's why we go to the yelling and screaming and all harshness, all of that, right? But even if I don't go this way, right, the fact that I have to control everyone is definitely a weakness, because it keeps people away from you. People try to not be with you in your space. They try not to, no, I don't want to be with her, no, I'm not, I don't want to listen to her, right? And the reaction to you will be basically like, it's good because they rely on you. They know that you will take care of the job, you will get it done, and you will get it done in a very good way and timely. But again, they will feel very challenged, they feel very frustrated, resentful, and even revengeful, because you are controlling them. Remember, one of the human needs is sense of autonomy, right? I want to have some freedom. I want to have a choice. I want to have some control over my life. So when we are faced with an extreme controlling parent, that suffocates the kids, right? They feel that they don't have a choice. They don't have a say. They're just there. They're just, they're pieces of puzzles that the parents are just putting them wherever she wants or he wants. And that can be challenging. So when these kids, they can rebel, they can be resentful, and that's because of the control. So what is a personal growth that controlled people need to do? They need to let go of some things. They need to sit and reflect. Yes, I am controlled. Yeah, I feel so uncomfortable and anxious when people don't listen to me. I feel like my solution is the only solution, it's the right solution. Everyone else is wrong, so people have to follow me, right? So they need to sit and get comfortable with the thought that it's okay to let go, and it's okay to give people choices, offer choices to your kids, and it's okay to give them more responsibility and let them take care of it without you telling them how to do it and when and why. Let just gradually train them. It's a process. It's a training process, right? They might not get it right from the beginning. That's okay. Just help them out, right? It's very helpful to take time for themselves and just sit and get some me time and calm their anxiety, right? Because these personality priorities, by the way, when things don't go the way they want, they feel anxious or stressed or angry sometimes. So although the strength is good, but yet the negatives is coming from a place of anxiety and stress. Conducting family meetings is very helpful, across the board for all 4 types, because for this type, you give control to your kids. You let them be please go and read about family meetings and how it's conducted, and the way jobs are distributed and the ways kids are taking leadership roles is really helpful, right? And when you divide the work and when you make them responsible for things, so it kind of help you just let go of certain things. Okay, so that is one way you can work and you improve your weaknesses if you are a controlled personality priority. Superiority. If you are a superiority personality priority, those people, their goal is to perfect everything, right? So sometimes we call them perfectionists. Those are the people who usually they're very capable, very meticulous, they're very useful, they're usually very smart in whatever they're doing, right? In whatever they want to perfect. And again, they want to perfect things, but when things don't go their way, they get overwhelmed. They usually don't admit there is a problem, and they feel overworked and over responsible. These people, someone will ask me, what's wrong with perfecting things? Aren't we supposed to do ihsan? Aren't we supposed to ihsan al-amal, right? Like perfect our actions and our behaviors. Let me tell you the difference. There is a difference between doing ihsan coming from a conscious place, from a rational brain, I'm consciously doing this and I'm rationalizing it and I'm putting limits and rules for it. That's great. And between this personality priority, this is coming from a place of anxiety. If things don't go this way, I will fail. And a lot of studies say that people with personality priority, it's actually coming from a place of insecurity or feeling like I'm not good enough sometimes. And that's because you always feel like this is not good enough. I will repeat it. So the repeat here, or the perfectionism is coming from a place of, no, it's not good. No, it's not good. No, it's not. Someone will say it's bad, or I'm not the best, or it's not the best, or there are people around me who are better than me, or people are going to criticize the way I do things, right? So, so this will make me feel unimportant, or I'm not as good as I want it to be. So it's coming from a place of anxiety and stress. It's not coming from a place of, yes, I'm here, I want to improve, I will have a plan to improve, I will walk in steps, I will be happy with my achievement. If something happened in the middle, it's okay, I understand things will happen. I'm always working towards ihsan and improving, but I'm not anxious about it, because it's coming from a place of consciousness, a place of conscious awareness, not a place of anxiety. And that's the difference. Okay. And that's across the board, all 4 personality priorities. You will find great things, right? So why not do it? Because yes, 100% do it if it's coming up from a place of consciousness. If you choose to perfect things, it's a choice. You do it consciously. So if there are obstacles or challenges, you're gonna plan for them. You're gonna prepare yourself for them. You're not gonna be anxious and feel so insecure. And so sometimes people with superiority, like when they feel like this, they're not gonna be perfect in something, they can cancel it. They will not take a job because they're afraid. See, it's hindering them. So ihsan improves us, makes us better because we're consciously planning for it. But the anxiety that comes with that makes us, actually, it hinders us. It makes us work overly. It makes us not sleep at night if you're having a presentation. It makes us like so anxious. So it's coming again from a place of like stress and a place of anxiety. So I hope that clarified it. So the strength of these people, yes, they are idealistic, they're highly achievers, they try to perfect everything. But the weakness is, right, is that they're overworked. They might not sleep for a presentation, or might take energy drinks not to sleep so that they can try again and again and again and again. And they might do something and then rip it and throw it and do another one, and so on and so forth, right? So they always feel like nothing is good enough, whether their work or others. Of course, they're very critical about other people's work because nothing is good enough for them. So others feel, their kids, if it's kids and you're a perfectionist parent, your kids will feel like always, they will feel that they are inferior, they are inadequate, they are always in competition. Nothing is good for you, right? No, I still remember this kid. I was talking to him, and he has a kind of a mostly superior perfectionist parents, and he said, I tried and I did this job, and my dad didn't even acknowledge that. I guess there's nothing is good enough for him. And yani, alhamdulillah, when the dad heard that, it was like a an aha moment. It's like, yeah, that's true. Because perfectionists, because they don't see anything good enough, they never acknowledge or encourage other people, like their kids' work. Because if the kid has a C and get a B, it's a B. It's not good enough. If it's an A, it's not an A plus. It's not good enough, right? It's always not good enough. So their kids always feel like discredited, and always feel discouraged, and always feel that they are never good enough. Okay. So these need to work on the personal growth for people with superiority personality priority is they need to share their vulnerability. Just say, yeah, I'm not perfect, and it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay. I will do my best. I can choose to do more work consciously, at a conscious level, in a planned way, in like some steps. That's great. Go for it. But not the way we're doing it, not the way they do it subconsciously with a lot of anxiety, right? They need to admit to mistakes. It's hard for superior people to admit that they make mistakes. And when they say make mistakes, they will say, I did that, but it's because you did something, or someone else did something. It's kind of never my fault, when I'm superior. Superior, by the way, is not in a bad way. Like the name superior is not coming from an arrogant way, like from an arrogant perspective. It's coming from that I always want to be the best kind of perspective. They don't have to be arrogant or anything, but they're anxious about it. And in a way, it can definitely lead to some arrogance, but not the personality priority itself. So it's hard to admit to mistakes. That's why one of the things, the personal growth points, is to just admit to your mistakes and ask for advice, right? And it's okay. And delegate some jobs and responsibilities to other, and just maybe put some guidelines, but you don't have to overwhelm yourself over it, and you don't have to criticize people over it because you're anxious. And encourage people encourage your kids when they do when they do something, encourage the effort. Don't always look for the results. One of the things with the superiority people is that they're always focused on the results, right? Because that what decides what's good and what's bad, what's perfect and what's not, what's enough and what's not. So they focus so much on the results, so they don't see the effort. They don't see even their own effort, and they definitely don't see the effort that their kids put. So their kids feel discouraged. So these people, they need to encourage their any positive behavior, even trying. When the kid try, enforce and encourage that, even the effort that's done, like not just the results. Okay, remind themselves that no one's perfect, right? And we are in a journey to improve ourselves as much as we can, and we can always try, but again, from a point of choice, from a point of consciousness, not from a point of anxiety, right? Also, family meetings are going to be very helpful. The third type is the comfort type. No, the pleasing type. And the pleasing type is, those are the people who cannot take the rejection or the conflict or the confrontation or the hassle. They want everyone to be happy. They found out that it's better to make everyone happy. So, this is my mechanism of just surviving. Make everyone happy so you don't you're not subjected to confrontations or rejection from the parents, or any problems. So they found out that the best way is to make them happy. So their goal is to please the parents, or when they were younger, but now they please others. They they try to meet the needs of people. They seek their approval. They're always seeking people approval in a way or another, right? And if things don't go their way, they again feel anxious and they feel stressed. But these people, they also feel burnt out because they're going out of their way to try to make everyone happy, everyone more comfortable. Okay, and again, which is great if it's coming from a place of conscious choice. If it's coming from a place of a choice, so I'm going to do you a favor, I'm going to do this person a favor, I have the time, I have the ability. But these people are not doing that. This is not coming from a place of conscious awareness. This is coming again from a place of anxiety. I want people to be pleased with me. I want them to approve of me. So subconsciously, I'm going to do favors to them. I'm going to, kids, you don't have to fold your laundry. You don't have to wash anything. Khalas, I will do it. If you're tired, I will clean up your room, and so on and so forth, right? Which is, sometimes some people like to give them the symbol of the chameleon, not in a bad way. Like they kind of change the way they look or the way they do things based on who is with them, right? Because they're trying to fit with everyone. They're trying to make everyone feel comfortable and happy and approve of them. They're always seeking approval. And although the strength is that they're friendly and kind and considerate and volunteers, and they follow the rules, and all of these are great, which we need always to keep the strength if possible. But the weakness is that they lost the sense of self, right? They have no energy left for themselves because they're trying to make everyone feel happy out of anxiety and approval, not out of conscious choice. So it's not regulated, it's not planned. Like, I will do this for this and do this and something for me. The analogy of the burning candle, right? So I will burn, so I will like light the life of everyone around me. So you don't have to burn to make everyone happy, right? We can all be happy without burning yourself. So they lack putting boundaries, like for their kids. They're afraid because if they put boundaries, the kids might not like it and might throw a fit or object or something, which is a confrontation or a conflict. These people don't like to face confrontations and conflict. That's why with their kids, they lack setting rules and boundaries. and they shy away from doing that. So even if they tell the, no, but you have to clean your room today, but then the kid will just push it a little bit more and they will let go. Right? They keep doing that unless one day they're so frustrated and they will yell and scream, but then it will go away. So how do people feel about them? They make people pleased because they do them a lot of favors, of course, but people are also annoyed because the pleasing personality, they want the approval. They always seek the approval, and they always seek the they want to be to people to show them approval and tell them how good they are, right? And sometimes they sometimes they play the victim cards, like, I did all of that for you, when their kids grow, and it's like, I just I didn't have a life, I gave all my life for you, I didn't do anything for myself. And the kids will say, I didn't ask you to. Again, if it's coming from a place of conscious choice or conscious awareness, I'm planning that. Definitely we need to do favors to our kids, and we can do favors for everyone, and we need to be pleasing as much as we can, if we can, from the point of ihsan again, right? But this is a choice that's planned, and it's not built on just exhausting yourself, or it's not coming from you being anxious. Actually, it's coming from you being empowered and strong and willing to help. So it's coming from a place of strength, right? Personal growth for those people is to learn just how to divide the work, set boundaries with their kids, say no sometimes, because people got used to them doing everything. So sometimes they have to say no. And when I say that, I don't mean in any way, shape, or form that they will go say, no, I learned to take care of myself. So starting from now on, I'm going to take care of myself. You can take care of yourself without this reaction, right? I know sometimes they're so burned out that they kind of like do that. But we don't have to be, we don't have to be mean to people to say that. We can just say, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. And if the kids ask, oh, what happened? Why you're not helping us as before? You can say, I found out that I don't have a lot of time for, for everything. And we can just divide the work and we work together. And like they can change that in a very beautiful and positive way. It doesn't have to be a reactionary, no, I'm only taking care of myself. So they definitely need to take me time, right? They need to set limits. They need, and everything. When we try to do the personal growth for any of the personality priorities, make sure it's done gradually and comfortably. Don't just jump into something and because it's going to be overwhelming, right? Changing yourself is basically you're changing the wiring of your brain. You're changing how your brain functions. It's not easy. And we can always ask for help, ask close people to us in any personality priority, like let them know, like if you have someone who you trust, a friend or a spouse, or even like an older child, if you feel comfortable with that, is to tell them that you're trying to work on certain things and that you need their help, and feedback. And that can be really helpful as well, right? And also family meetings help with that when we set limits and boundaries. The last kind of personality priority is comfort. And the comfort personality priority is those people who kind of feel, they don't like the pain or the stress or the high expectation or to work a lot. It stresses them out. Again, this is not laziness, because some people associate that personality priority with laziness, right? Because these people, their goal is to feel comfortable, to relax, to take care of themselves and take it easy, right? So and they're stressed when they're overworked, when they have extra extra jobs to do or extra work to do, or right, so they get stressed. So people, their strength is always that they're easygoing, they're peacemakers, they are very relaxed people, they're nice to be around, they're empathetic, which are all great things, right? But again, the weakness is, again, they don't like to set a lot of limits because, they don't want to go through the hassle as parents, go through the hassles of implementing rules, because this is going to get them out of their comfort zone. And, you know, some of the weakness of this personality priority is that they have reduced productivity. And sometimes like people will say, you know, you have a great potential. It's just you're not using your potential. You're using your minimal, you know, ability. You have more to give. You have more to do. But these people are not. And some people will see it again as laziness, that they are lazy and they don't want to do ihsan again. It's not about that. Again, remember, all of these are coming from a place of anxiety. This is subconscious. This is not a choice, right? So it's not that they want to be lazy, or it's not that they can take the extra when they do, when you push them, they don't achieve. When you push them, they break, right? Because again, they're anxious, they're afraid. So you know, they are less productive, they are more you know, more relaxed. And that's again why they a lot of people like to say lazy. So please don't label people as lazy, because it's sometimes more, I would want to say most of the time, laziness is not really laziness. It can be so many different things. This is one of them. It can be, some people would be, don't want to do things because they're depressed. Because I always receive, oh, my kid is lazy. They don't want to do their chores and they don't want to do homework. They don't care about schooling. It's not that simple. There's a reason why. There is, remember, look for the needs and the feelings. People behave in a certain way because there are certain needs and certain feelings. We have to explore that first before we keep jumping into it's just a choice. Because laziness, according to our understanding, is a choice. But these people do not choose that. Some people are not achieving because they're depressed, not because they're choosing to be lazy, right? So let's be very careful with labeling again. So personal development for this type of personality is they need to start setting limits, again, gradually, slowly, plan activities, plan things, be part of problem solving, push themselves a little bit, just small steps, work on small steps, because if they push themselves too hard or someone push them too hard, they will break down, because that will cause them anxiety, right? So yeah, you know, when we change our personality or change we don't change the personality, to be honest. We just change the expression of certain parts of the personality, right? Like we need to work on the weakness that we have in you know, in our personality. It's right. That's what we want to work on. So let's do it gradually. Let's do it slowly. Let's plan for it, and let's ask for help from people who we trust. So why are we talking about the personality priority? First, people who have certain personality priority, every one of us think that we are right and others are wrong. It's kind of a, not in a bad way, not from an arrogant perspective. It's more of, if I'm controlled, for example, and I plan and I do things in a certain way, and I have to do backup plan and another backup plan, and I want things to happen in a certain way, in my mind, that's the right way of doing things. How come the comfort doesn't do it this way? So I will be labeling the comfort as lazy or bad because he's not doing like things the way I see them. That's the right way. So everyone thinks that his way is the right way. On the other hand, you will find the comfort thinking, why is the control so anxious about life? Why aren't they taking it easy? Why aren't they just taking a deep breath? Life is not about planning and organization, and it's just they should just relax. That's too much, right? So everyone is seeing things from their own perspective, from their own personality, from their own perception. And that's why there's no right and wrong. We're not judging who's right and who's wrong. Every personality has like a strength and a weakness. We need to keep the strength as much as we can and work to improve and grow in the areas of weakness. And actually this you know, conflict happens especially between spouses and even between parents. and kids. So, for example, imagine if we have a parent and a kid who is controlling. So, like an older kid who already the personality priority started showing, and the kid is controlling, and the parent is controlling. Can you imagine if they don't work together, how there will be a power struggle in this household, whether it's with the spouse or whether it's with the kid? Because everyone thinks I'm right, the way I'm doing it is right, and everyone should follow me. It's going to be a battle, right? And also, imagine the other way. It's a control parent with a comfort spouse or a comfort kid. The control will always label the comfort as lazy and underachieving and not doing their potential. They don't know about ihsan. And the comfort will always be labeling the control as, they're always stressed out. They don't have time for themselves, and they don't relax, and they're very agitated, and they don't do tawakkul ala Allah, right? So and then we get the religion in the middle of that, and again tawakkul and ihsan and all of these in religion. These are conscious choices. These are rational brain function, not coming from, again, like the wiring of the brain, the subconscious wiring, which gives us anxiety. Okay, so just to not to label each other, right? So the best way is to understand that there are different styles, and again, we can be more than one style. And I found it interesting that most of the people who I know controlling, they are the controlling superior. Usually these two, especially these two, are usually go together somehow. But anyways, in all cases, let's acknowledge that there's no right and wrong. We have strength and weakness. Let's help each other to work on the weaknesses, right? And I found it very helpful, like especially with parents, like some parents, like one is comfort and one is controlling, and they always kind of, there's always conflicts about how to do things, and there are always fights about doing things. And when they just knew about that, just the awareness itself was beautiful, because it was at the beginning, it was a shock. It's like, especially the controlling was like, I'm not controlling, and the comfort, no, I'm not lazy. It's like, it's not controlling, it's not a bad thing, and lazy is not lazy, right? So at the beginning, some people will take it as, will be shocked when they read about that, and then they try to figure out who they are. And the words sometimes don't are kind of, they don't fall very easy on the nafs. But later on, they were joking about it, and they were talking about, I'm doing that because I control, I have to do 10 different plans, and the comfort is like, give me my time, I need more time. But they were able to work together to help each other develop plans. And they understood, and that's the beauty of it, is to understand the other person. They don't mean to upset you. They don't mean to make your life hard. It's just, this is how they're put together. And yes, we can work together, and we can reach a happy middle here or there, and we can collaborate to improve our weaknesses together, rather than just keep fighting over it and keep having power struggles and conflicts. And this, whether with spouses, even with kids. Okay. So so I think that's I covered all the points, right, for this presentation. These are the references, and these are the QR codes for the website, the WhatsApp group, the English group, the Instagram, and the YouTube, for those who would like to scan them and join the groups for updates about upcoming workshops or group coaching sessions. So feel free to join. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we finished. So see you inshallah next Sunday with session number 2. And that session would be, we're going to focus on understand your kids. So today we kind of, did an overview about ourselves, and, how our childhood and our experiences, and, kind of shape the way sometimes we see things, even at a subconscious level, without even being aware of it. and we know how important it is to be aware of all of that. So I will leave you with that. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.